Hey, yesterday we did a generic thing about boxes, and I wanted to do a more practical uh, application. So I'm going to try and do A gap zone versus under, then over, and then odd front. And just want to talk about the particulars or the specifics. Okay, as you can see, this is under if we're going to the right. Here is the match box, okay, and I'll just put the match box right here, okay, and this is the stovepipe, and it can be a little confusing, but if we're going to the right, an A-gap run, the last guy in the stovepipe box wants to be right on the seam of the two boxes, okay, and that is it's just the way we've evolved this thing. I don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent. I've had many discussions, but we did this for a reason. We wanted the center to not have to cover a G front or what people would call a 2-eye yellow on the guard. Just thought it was too hard to do, and in B gap or wider. So we made this guy, he's either going to match somebody, okay, in the A gap, or he's going to Apache somebody in the C gap. We won't talk C gap right now. I had another video, but I think this one's going to be a little bit better. But for A gap to work, the problem with A gap is wherever you want to run between the guards, this is the read spot, somewhere in here. And what it does is it brings all the linebackers, okay, and let's say you had Sam and the seam. We played Wisconsin a couple of years ago, and they were spilling with the end, and Sam was catching the bounce, and it's just a mess. Um, you need to have either some sort of a reverse, which is essentially, wing T buck sweep. There's the buck and there's the sweep. Or you've got to have a runner at quarterback, or even better, an RPO. Um, I've you've guys run this stuff. I watch pro football. They try to run this stuff without a running quarterback. Um, it's okay, but everybody just laughs. I mean, here's Tom Brady wheeling around the corner. Tom Brady make him miss, but say a less mobile quarterback or a guy that isn't as interested in running, um, they kind of just rally to him, and they're going to take this guy and break his neck. So here's the A gap runner, and it could be, we've had discussions. Is it better out of the shotgun? Is it better out of the pistol? Well, I, I think it's about the same. The pistol gives you some advantages because pre-snap they don't know which way you're going. Now, if you add on any of these motions and stuff, they kind of know. But it's kind of tough if you want to check to a pass. Everybody says, "Well, shift them up." Good, great. We shifted them up. I would rather have the shotgun alignment, and if we want to flip the play, just flip the back. Okay, and you got to time that. But what's the difference? I mean, what the hell? Um, I'm not a big fan of pistol unless your quarterback is a dead runner. You know, in other words, he's going to make people miss. Then the pistol, of course, is a better alignment because of the pre-snap problems. Okay, and just back to the quarterback for a second. I think that if you're going to run shotgun zone read, you want a point guard type quarterback here. Drop back guy, I'd rather have him under center and run some other kind of an offense. Okay, but that's just my um, my take on it, and I'd probably stay away from A gap zone and run some sort of power play or trap just to hit the A gap. If you don't have a runner, if you don't have a point guard at quarterback, I don't know, you know, whatever. It's up to you. Okay, just to review, the match area is from the butt of the center to the play side. The stovepipe is from the butt of the center to the backside tackle, and you really don't have an Apache unless you add a tight end or somebody, but the Apache would be from outside of the tackle to the sideline. So basically, you know, the point of attack is here to there. That's where the back's going to run. Doesn't mean that he can't spit it this way. Okay, in this case, if the nose were to cross into the stovepipe, he'd want to try to spit it. Okay, but anyway, let's just start with the match area. And what we want to know against this, number one, we want to make sure that we can control the overhang player with a bubble or check it. If the overhang player becomes a threat, and he's got to do something very radical to become a threat, we would make a train, and we would just, actually, we'd let the overhang player come to the tackle, but we would alert everybody, hey, if the quarterback doesn't get us off of this thing, we're all blocking play side gap and hanging on and hoping for the best. And hopefully the quarterback will get us out of it by throwing the bubble or checking the play. And, you know, not for nothing, but the quarterback cancels one defender and the blockers can cancel 5 of those 6. This is a 4-2 front, obviously. Beyond that, yeah, I don't know. I was at a session one time, and the guy wanted to know how do you run the ball against a 7-man front with everybody playing the back. And I looked at it was me and Dave Johnson were there, and we looked at each other and we shrugged and said, you throw it. So that I don't know what else to say there. If you can't throw, it's a long day, all right? And I know in you watch guys and blah blah blah, but let's not beat a dead horse. I'm already beating a dead horse. Okay. The first thing we want to do is find the defensive end. And we want to let people know if he's a jet, that's New York Jet, or a giant. Okay, now a jet to us is a green light all the way. All right, and let me just, the tackle feels like he can keep this man at bay and outside. He can match him and keep him out of the match box. Okay, a giant is when this guy lines up and he is a threat to 2 gaps. He's a threat to the green light gap of the tackle, and he's a threat to the green light gap of the guard. And we want to alert, we want to have that tackle alerting, and he's looking at the secondary, he's looking at the overhang, but he's also looking at this guy, and he just says either jet or giant, unless there's an overhang press. Then of course we're making train calls. It's not a big deal. Once they get the hang of it, it's pretty easy. Let's just start out with green light jet. Okay, he is going to match this guy by downshifting with the outside foot and not crossing the nose of that end. The end is lined up for us to block him. That guy's already blocked. Okay, it's no big deal. He says jet. And what that says is, look, I can protect you, guard. Okay, the guard would then downshift a short step with his outside foot, and he would try to slow himself down enough in case there was a late spike or some safety blitz or something like that. And then what he's going to do is get back into matching that linebacker. Now, we're assuming that the linebacker is going to go here, so his path will probably be there. Okay, we don't necessarily want to double team a green light by the center. Okay, and in this case, it's a shade that the center decides, well, it ain't yellow on the guard, it's green on me. Okay, so everybody's good. The guard's obviously agreeing with him. Everybody's happy. And what we want the center to do is match that guy and hopefully get him to stretch a little bit and throw him. We want to throw these 2 people as far as we can into the match box. Okay, remember, here's the read spot. Okay, so that's pretty easy stuff, I think. Now let me just change this for a second. Okay. Okay, we move this nose over to a G alignment. He's yellow on the guard. We got green light here. We're basically red light here, and we're still talking about the match area. What we want to do is hay bale this guy. Okay, so we want a brick wall right here, downshift and brick wall, and we want this center, and we always want to downshift with the center. Okay, whenever we're going hay bale to the outside, we use a regular downshift step. Okay, so downshift, and if you don't downshift, okay, if you just try to go, generally speaking, you will spill step. Okay, and what that means is you're going to wind up stepping underneath yourself, and it's just the way it is. It's the way the body works. You have to work on your hip abduction, your strength, your ability to move your foot before you move your weight. Okay, and we feel like a downshift coming out in first gear is going to aid acceleration, and it also allow us to stay square and play long. What we want to do is use our hands and hammer this man out, okay, so that he can be thrown by the guard, and the linebacker should come right to us. If we turn our shoulders, okay, or if we spill out of our stance, and the analogy is like a waiter that's got a tray of drinks down at the shore or something like that, and he moves the drinks before he moves his feet, he's going to spill them. Okay, we don't want to do that. We don't want to spill the drinks. We want to downshift. Okay, we want to downshift and use our hands, staying square, turn the turret of the upper body, don't turn the tank, keep the pecker pointed this way. Okay, because if you turn your pecker, you can't see half that defense, and you're going to have a hard time if there's a cross charge. Okay, and we want to throw this guy out, and boom, everybody's happy. Okay, so that is the match versus under. Okay, under and under G. Now I want to tell you this: if we go giant, and I won't go back to under. If we go giant, we want to Indian that tackle. We don't really give a hoot. We want to Indian that tackle. Okay, we want to protect that guard. That's what we want to do. Now, if the giant spikes it, the nose is probably going to spike it. If he does a nice downshift, he'll fall right into it, and we'll wind up double teaming that end. This guy should go right to the center. Everybody's happy. Okay, if he steps out, well, who cares what this guy's doing? Okay, if he steps out and there's a cross charge, the center will walk right into it. Bam! Okay, now the tackle, if he sees that, he wants to build a wall up to the mic. All right, because if he's going in, the mic's coming out. That's the way it is. Or the mic's not going to come out. He's going to sit there. All right, so it's important to understand that in the match area, okay, in the match area against giant, we don't mind stepping Indian, not even a little bit. Even if it's odd front, we don't care. Okay, we don't mind, not even a little bit, because we want to be able to get 3 hats on 3 hats. Okay, we don't want to start out, okay, against a shade defense by Indian with the guard. We don't want to do that. Okay, what happens is it's all well and good if the end stays outside, but if the end spikes, we're going to get cut off and there'll be too much of a space. We want even spacing with a downshift and a downshift. We don't care if this thing gets wadded up because we're going to run a double team and here's the point of attack. Okay, but we don't want 3 guys, okay, inside the tackle playing this back without hats on them. Okay, so we always want to downshift. We always want to downshift, and that's the way it is. Okay, you can argue about it, and that's fine, but that's the way we do it. Okay. Okay, let's go to the stovepipe side of this thing. Okay, and again, we feel pretty good about that matchup. Okay, and not for nothing, but we want to understand that this is exactly the same as the tight end in C gap. Okay, the back would be coming from over here, but that man is straddling the read spot. That blocker, the center, that's the guy with the X. All right, we've already talked about the match area, so let's talk about the stovepipe. All right, the first thing we always want to do is protect our gap with the backside guard. So guess what he's going to do? Downshift. And because this man is matching, we feel as though the center can protect him on a rock, okay? If the nose rocks from one side to the other. All right, and of course the center is going to go with him because the guard is matching this and the tackle's matching that, and the center is really looking for something coming from his blind side. This is his C side. This is where he's looking. This is his blind side. That's where he's not looking. He's trying to stay square. So if the nose does rock, he's going to rewind with him, and they're going to wind up sorting that out on a running double team. Okay? And we'll wad the thing up. We don't want the nose in the backfield. It's just the way it is. We don't want a TFL. We'd rather cut the backer loose than anything than have any TFLs. But generally speaking, if the center does a good job of matching and playing long, he'll feed that guy. He'll stuff him right to the guard. And if the guard does a good job of staying condensed, that whole thing he'll fall right into it. Okay, so the two of them will wind up with that kind of a relationship, fairly tight to each other, and keeping run-throughs and step-throughs pretty clean. Okay, let's just assume that this guy stays on that side of the center and gets matched up. Okay, now what we want to do is downshift. Okay, and this guy is, because he's downshifting, this guy we want to cover. Okay, he's going to give you access to cover. We want to cover this man up if we can. Remember, we're in the stovepipe now. We want to cover him up. So if there's any kind of run through and the guard's lost, we don't have half a man hanging off in the seam. Okay. In other words, if we downshift here and downshift here, and there's a step through and a go, we'll probably pick all this stuff up, but we won't necessarily pick that step through up. And we want that step through picked up. So the guard's going to give you access, and then he's going to come back and either play in the shadow, okay, or he's going to chip, or he's going to do something, and the two of you should arrive roughly at the same time. But understand that this is yours, okay? He's yours, okay? There's no other reason for that. This is the 1-2. Here's the point. We've got a right call on the point. You two have the next two, and that's the way it goes. Okay, it's sort of the reverse thinking of the hay bale. Okay, and yeah, could you hay bale this? Yeah, you might be able to, you know, but now you got to jump cut that thing, and you're close to the reed key. We really like that seam to stay right here if we can, to stay away from the reed key. Okay. Now, any kind of cross charges, anything coming to the guard, of course, he's going to pick it up. All right. And if he can fight his way through, he's going to either shadow his way through using that one-arm Heisman, that Heisman trophy, and he's going to get cover on the linebacker, the A-gap step up. Okay. Remember now, he's helping. He's giving access to the tackle. He's not shutting the tackle off. If he downshifts, he won't shut the tackle off. If he does anything else, he's going to shut the tackle off. Now, that's all well and good, but what happens, once we start really rolling with that, what happens is, okay, we played Northwestern, and they went ahead and moved the backer out, okay. And this pisses me off. What the hell's going on here? Okay, for some reason that, I don't know how much of that got used up. Some crazy pop-up thing just popped up, and hopefully it didn't shut this off. But anyway, when we have the backer in no man's land, okay, we have a guard basically with leverage on both people. What we're going to do there is Gaga. Okay, Lady Gaga. We're going to put 4 hands on this dude, again with the downshift, and we're going to try and figure out where that backer is going to play. But now this is a call, ga, and it's saying to this guy, keep coming, but I'm going to be there with my two hands, and you're going to put your two hands on it. And he ought to know what's going on already. All right, he ought to know what's going on already. So the Gaga says, look, you guys, you got to handle this by yourself. If it happens right away, the rock will fall into it. But basically, I'm going to take my downshift and rewind and Gaga this up. Okay? If the backer does that, okay, and it's a read replace, we got a little problem there. Okay, but hopefully we'll get the ball handed off. All right, and this tackle's presence might shut the read key down. Okay, what we're worried about is that sort of thing. All right, and we generally fall into that. But the Gaga says, "Hey, look for it. It's wide." And of course, the wider he gets, the easier it is to sort out. We're always going to say to the quarterback, if you don't know what to do, hand the ball off, because we don't want to get TFL'd. And generally speaking, if these guys just hold their ground and play in the shadows, we won't get TFL'd by anything like that. Okay? It's pretty easy. Of course, as this man goes outside of us, we just make a man call, all right? And we try to play in the shadow here, try and play in the shadow here, and everybody's happy. Okay, and it's just the way it is. Okay, that is A gap versus under.